Hello, crew. Welcome to our third episode. Tonight we'll be talking about a very important poet, one you probably have heard of, one probably everyone knows about, and that poet is Arnold. No, it's not going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger tonight, although I'd love to discuss Arnold Schwarzenegger and his poetry because his whole body is like a poem. Instead, we'll be talking about Matthew Arnold. And I'll get rid of the Arnold voice for you, but I'm sure you appreciate that. If not, please let me know that you don't appreciate it. Because I do try. You know, I'm really trying hard for you guys. You know, for the fans. Yeah, for you. Matthew Arnold was big though. He wasn't huge, but he was big in his time. He was big in the day. Probably as big as Arnold Schwarzenegger was for action movies. Matthew Arnold was as big to verse. Made a pretty big impact. And we're going to see why with this poem, West London, that kind of really, again, we'll hear this theme again, remakes the sonnet. But you're going to see this guy just tears things apart and builds it back up again. Builds it back much bigger and stronger with West London. Crouched on the pavement close by Belgrave Square, a tramp I saw, ill, moody, and tongue-tied. A babe was in her arms, and at her side a girl. Their clothes were rags, their feet were bare. Some laboring men whose work lay somewhere there passed opposite. She touched her girl, who hurried across and begged and came back satisfied. The rich she had let pass with frozen stare. Thought I, above her state, this spirit towers. She will not ask of aliens, but of friends, of sharers in a common human fate. She turns from that cold succor, which attends the unknown little, from the unknowing great, and points us to a better time than ours. Whew. Yeah, let that hit you, right? Take that in a little bit. From Arnold, West London. See how carefully he observes, how he focuses in that aperture of his lens, really just gives us this close-up shot from the very first word, crouched. Already, the camera lens is lowered down to the pavement, and he tells us exactly where. He specifies Belgrave Square, so he puts the reader exactly where he wants to. Then on the second line, he gives you the tramp, and gives you this family circumstance, gives you the rags, their bare feet. And then after those four lines, again, we discussed this in previous sonnets, but we're going to discuss it again here. This octave, these first 8 lines are going to set this scene here. And these after those first 4, the second 4, we get the second half of the octave, some laboring men whose work lay somewhere there, past opposite. So he's still building this scene, right? They're not they're not going to try to beg, except from other people of kind of comparable class, people who don't have a lot of money. That's where they're going to try to get sympathy. That's where the tramp sends her, or his. The tramp is a mother, sends her own daughter to beg to these laboring men, presumably, and comes back with a little money, not a lot, but something, and that ends our octave with the rich she let pass with a frozen stare. And already that would be enough of a poem, right? We would think that would be pretty good. Just 8 lines. Arnold probably could have ended it there, but now we have this pivot. And again, as we've discussed in previous sonnets, this pivot is crucial to the sonnet structure. The pivot from the octave to the sestet. This pivot is going to be a pivot, again, toward the eternal. It's going to allow Arnold this glimpse into human nature, into the soul, to try to comment or philosophize a little bit even, and to give us some commentary on the nature of who we are and what we're all about. So he introduces himself. He's kept himself mostly out of this poem. I guess on the line 2, I saw, but he's passive. Now he's thinking, thought I. He gives us the spirit here, indicates to us he's going to make this gesture towards the everlasting. This spirit that's towering. Now, we don't know if that's God for Arnold. Maybe I'll leave that to Arnold biographers, but I don't think so. Maybe for the tramp, it's an oppressive power. But she will not ask of aliens, meaning people who she cannot understand, but only of people who she assumes would sympathize with her. It's moving. It's profoundly moving. Arnold seems to be a bearing witness in a way, observing, doing the work of a journalist, perhaps a photojournalist before there really was such a thing. He's forcing us as a reader to look with him, and not just look at the surfaces of things, but with the sonnet, after that octave, he can pivot and look behind the nature of things a little bit. I think it's also significant for us to think about how he appropriated, or he took, this tradition of the sonnet and tried to make it do something that would be uncomfortable for his reader. Readers expected the sonnet to do things, to tell them things that were comforting, things that were about love or God or spirituality, things about the beauty of nature and the mystery of creation. This poem doesn't give you any of those things. Arnold is giving you something else, something much less comforting, something troubling. And the hope in the poem, the unknown little from the unknowing great, I'm not, personally don't find that super comforting. Points us to a better time than ours, but what is that time? How is that going to come? And who's going to make that? Arnold doesn't answer any of those things. I think he leaves it up to us. He assumes by showing us these things that you and me, everyone, could try to make things better. And we know, now, right? Is it so much better? Have we done better than what Arnold saw? These are questions I have reading this poem. But the accomplishment of this poem and the writing of it, pretty impressive. He doesn't overcook an egg, right? So he knows what he wants to do. He has a goal, and he keeps it simple. He keeps his syntax relatively spare, relatively straightforward, and he's just going to walk right up to you and stab you in the gut. He doesn't really have time to mess around, and he knows that the direct approach here is going to be the most effective. Again, I think the opening of this poem, the first several lines, are what makes it so successful. But he ends the poem very nicely as well. But perhaps this idea of poetry as photojournalism is something to think about. That the power of a poem and of a sonnet is in its ability to observe and render and paint. Well, that's really all I got tonight. I appreciate you for joining me. I think you've probably gotten just a little bit stronger. And I would really like to hear what you think about West London and perhaps poems like it. If it makes you think of another poem you like, please do leave that in the comments below. And of course, I invite you, if there's a sonnet you would like me to discuss, please do let me know, and subscribe up. So when I launch my next episode, you can jump right in with me, and we can party together. Because that's the whole idea, is to have some fun, right? All right. Thanks for joining me. You have a good one.